right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Shower chances linger longer into the weekend. Why the forecast has changed and what that means for your weekend plans.
A police crisis call caught on camera.
You got one resisting.
Tonight, new video of officers begging a local doctor to drop his gun before fatally shooting him. Our top story, backlash in Bellefontaine neighbors. Tensions rise over allegations of missing money.
5 on your side is at the scene of a packed council showdown that erupted in Bellefontaine neighbors. Good evening. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Kelly Jackson. A leadership crisis has rocked the town, leaving residents demanding accountability and transparency. Brent Solomon is live at City Hall after just stepping out of the meeting. Brent.
Well, things are different here lately, guys. There's a new appointed mayor, a new city attorney, after those who held those positions in the past abruptly resigned. On top of that, 2 officials in the finance department here quit last year. Now, so many people here are wondering what's going on here. Take a look. You'll see they packed a city council meeting earlier today. That meeting just wrapped up a few minutes ago. They say a top-ranking city official who's new to the job posted on a neighborhood app that there's missing money due to a previous administration. Tonight, no specific dollar amount was addressed, although the current finance director, who just returned to the job after the former mayor quit, he told the crowd the city is operating under budget, and he says that's a good thing. Well, that previous mayor showed up tonight, and she believes a lot of that is from the protocols she put in place.
I'm here to address the misguided allegations that have been circulating among citizens, state and local officials regarding the conduct of my administration. I believe in full transparency and have always committed to sharing both the successes and challenges we faced. Nothing has changed.
Finance director, who's back on the job now, stepped down back in September because he said he didn't like the way things were going. That was 4 months after another finance official in the city stepped down. So, is there missing money here or not? The city says it is committed to making sure a state audit gets underway, and voters here are now circulating a petition because they want to make sure that happens. We're live in Bellefontaine neighbors. Brent Solomon, 5 on your side.
Tonight, a former police chief in North County is accused of stealing thousands of dollars from Velda City. Daniel Polino faces fraud charges, accused of spending more than $300,000 on the city's credit card for personal use. Court documents say he also transferred city funds to a business he owned. Polino served as police chief until the department dissolved in 2024. At the time, the department said there were financial hardships.
About 2 hours ago, St. Louis firefighters put out a massive fire along the North Riverfront. A large cloud of smoke could be seen for miles. That fire broke out earlier tonight at the Grossman Iron and Steel Scrapyard at North Market and Wharf Streets. That's just north of the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. We are still waiting to hear back from fire officials on what caused this fire, and if there were any injuries, we will continue to ask questions.
Now to the weather impact forecast. Showers are moving out, but our chances of rain are far from over. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell tracking a wet weekend ahead.
Yes, and that is a change in our forecast from what we've had for most of this week. It looked all week like it was going to be relatively tranquil as the system coming in tomorrow would keep moving. That system's going to get stuck. Ground clutter around St. Louis, showers exiting eastbound. There are a couple of little rumbles here up to our north and west, but they're dying as they approach the Troy area and Truxton, Hawk Point. But they may try to impact areas west and northwest of St. Louis. Here's a look at tomorrow. There are more scattered showers and more thunderstorm chances tomorrow. Don't expect anything severe, but maybe some brief downpours. The problem with that is the system that's settling in here is going to stick around through the weekend in the upper levels of the atmosphere. It's stalling out. Rain chances have increased over the weekend and chilly changes because of that. So rain showers Friday into Sunday now, which means some wet roads, some adjustments to your outdoor plans. I'm having to make some adjustments too. Much cooler temperatures, highs in the 60s, and good luck trying to work in the muddy yard. because April was a record-breaking wet month in St. Louis, wettest on history now. We'll see in a few minutes. We'll talk about the weekend and when it finally dries out some.
Tonight, new video of an arrest that goes from civil to deadly within a matter of minutes.
5 on your side's Robert Townsend is here to walk us through the police body cam footage of that shooting involving 2 St. Louis County officers and a Fenton doctor.
Mike and Kelly, that 38-year-old man once worked as a physician at Mercy Hospital. Now, investigators say St. Louis County officers shot and killed the armed man. That's after he resisted an arrest in March. A warning now, some of the police video is disturbing. Investigators say on the morning of March 21st, 2 St. Louis County police officers went to Alexander Lannis's home on Hawkins Bend Drive near Fenton to arrest him.
The investigation was related to a reported harassment first degree and tampering with a motor vehicle in the second degree incident in the South County precinct.
The police department released this video on Thursday. They say it shows the officers when they first arrive at Lannis's home.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Dr. Lannis.
Hi, come on out.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Hey, good. You mind stepping out for us?
The officer said Lannis would not comply.
Step on out to the front porch, okay? Because you are, at this time, are being placed under arrest.
Investigators say when Lannis resisted and displayed a handgun, a struggle began inside the home.
Is this about the other day at the park? Is this what's going on?
Well, we'll be happy to talk to you, but we gotta do some stuff. So go ahead and step on out for us, okay?
Okay.
I understand you're gonna
Okay, just a second. Yeah, one resisting.
While fighting for control of Mr. Lannis's handgun, officers continued giving commands to him to drop the weapon.
One officer tried to de-escalate the violent encounter and pulled out his taser, but police say Lannis continued the struggle.
No! Drop the gun! Please don't do this! Please drop the gun!
The officers fired a total of 13 shots. Lannis never fired. He died at the scene.
I'm glad they had their body cameras rolling.
Former St. Louis County Police Chief, Councilman, and police consultant Tim Fitch reacts to this video.
I think it gives the public a real good insight as to what officers face almost every day.
Now, after the police video was released, the Smith family, the in-laws of the suspect, said in part, quote, "We are deeply saddened by the choices Alexander made in his final moments, and we are grateful to the officers who gave him every opportunity to choose a different outcome." One of the officers involved in this is 30 years old with 8 years of law enforcement experience. The other officer is 22 years old with 1 year of experience on the police force. Now, we're also told one of them suffered a hand injury not related to gunfire and was treated at that scene.
St. Louis police have identified a man shot to death early this morning in the Central West End. Officers responded to a shooting call just before 3 near Washington and North Sarah. When they arrived, they found Justin Woods lying in the street. He was 25 years old and lived in St. Louis. So far, no arrest. Anyone with information could leave an anonymous tip. The number is at Crime Stoppers, 866-371-TIPS. A federal judge has sentenced a St. Louis County man to spend more than a decade in prison for a violent carjacking. It happened in May of 2023 inside a parking garage on the St. Louis University campus. Surveillance photos show the victim on the ground with a gun pointed at him. Adajay Britton, who is now 20, pleaded guilty to the crime. The stolen car was later found in North County with a juvenile in the driver's seat.
Investigators now say a medical emergency may have led to a tragedy at an after-school camp in central Illinois. 2 7-year-olds, an 8-year-old and an 18-year-old were killed Monday when a car plowed through a field and through a building. Illinois State Police say the driver didn't have any drugs, alcohol, or other substances in her system at the time. Investigators add the evidence isn't conclusive and still needs further investigation.
There's obviously high emotion in something like this. And we have people that are impacted by this. We're part of this community. But the Illinois State Police, our view and of what integrity is to relentlessly pursue those facts no matter where they take us.
While no charges have been filed, 5 on your side confirmed the driver has worked more than a decade for the Illinois State Police and currently holds a position with IDOT as an office assistant. ISP says it's still working closely with the Sangamon County State's Attorney's Office.
Today was the May Day National Day of Action, and just hours ago, dozens gathered at the corner of Grandin, Russell, and Compton Heights for a peaceful protest. Besides fighting for better rights for workers, they were protesting President Trump's policies, including those targeting immigrants, federal workers, and diversity programs. Another rally was held earlier today on the Arch grounds.
Tomorrow, firehouses across Missouri will honor a Kansas City firefighter who was stabbed to death in the line of duty. Governor Mike Keogh ordered all U.S. and state flags to be flown at half staff for Graham Hoffman. The firefighter paramedic will be laid to rest tomorrow. The 29-year-old was stabbed Sunday morning by a patient he was transporting.
Tonight, the National Weather Service is confirming 2 tornadoes touched down last night in Fayette County. Both an EF2 and an EF0 hit the town of Chaubonear. That's about 90 minutes east of St. Louis. A small barn and outbuilding were destroyed. The twisters also knocked down some trees. Just hours ago, Missouri Governor Mike Keogh put in a request to President Trump to approve a federal disaster declaration for severe storms and flooding that hit the state last month. This includes requests for FEMA, individual assistance for storm victims in Iron and Washington counties. An EF3 tornado caused damage in the Potosi area on April 2nd.
National Weather Service storm survey teams found 2 tornado tracks in Fayette County, the strongest just southeast of Chaubonear in Fayette County. The good news is our severe chances are low this weekend. The bad news is the rain chances are not. We'll see you in 7 minutes.
A centuries-old ritual steeped in secrecy and tradition.
You know what a high responsibility it is.
Tonight, an American cardinal from St. Louis shares a look inside the papal conclave, an insight on the politics of picking a new pope.
I don't want you to think this is Iowa caucus.
In just 6 days, the Cardinals of the Catholic Church will enter the Sistine Chapel for a secretive and sacred selection.
The papal conclave comes more than 2 weeks after the death of Pope Francis. Ann Thompson sat down with St. Louis native Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who knows the process well.
It is quite possibly the most solemn and dramatic moment in an institution that knows solemn and dramatic.
Habemus Papam.
But how they get to that moment of we have a pope is one of the great mysteries of the Catholic Church. The election of the next leader of the world's 1.3 billion Catholics is called a conclave, from the Latin with a key. Cardinals locked away inside the Sistine Chapel with no electronics, not even handwritten notes, making their decision under the watchful gaze of Michelangelo's Renaissance-era frescoes.
You know what a high responsibility it is.
New York's Archbishop Cardinal Timothy Dolan was one of the men behind those doors at the last conclave in 2013. He vividly recalls what the cardinal electors were told by the preacher of the papal household.
As he looked out at us, he said, "The Holy Spirit has chosen the next pope. Your job is simple, find out who it is."
What does that mean, to make room for the Holy Spirit?
I don't say, "Holy Spirit, would you please point out to me who I should vote for?" No.
Now, the run-up to the conclave may seem like the Catholic version of the presidential primaries. The masses celebrated by potential candidates are covered like political rallies, but the stakes are spiritual.
I don't want you to think this is Iowa caucus, like we're inviting potential candidates. We're more kind of inviting noted leaders in the different churches to ask them about issues, about their observations on the state of the church.
It's considered very unseemly to openly campaign for the throne of St. Peter. There's a saying, he who enters the conclave a pope leaves a cardinal. But that doesn't stop the media and other observers from trying to handicap the horse race.
When it comes time to make a decision, they're going to be listening to each other more than they're listening, frankly, to us.
Then it is up to the 120 or so cardinals who are cut no slack by Vatican security, surrendering all their technology and human help at check-in to the hotel within the walls.
As they're done and say, "Eminence, you can enter," my helpful secretary, Father Jim Cruz, picked up my luggage and started to walk in, whereupon the tip of a spear of a Swiss Guard stopped him. Now that's how serious they are.
The window shades of the rooms where the Cardinals stay are nailed shut, the phones cut off.
When Pope Benedict XVI was elected, a new floor was laid in the Sistine Chapel and all sorts of electronic jamming equipment.
Inside, Cardinal Dolan says there are no speeches, just prayer and voting. 4 rounds by secret ballot every day until one name receives a 2/3 majority.
A ballot would take about 2 hours, as each cardinal would go up one by one. So it is very much silence.
Outside, the smoke watch begins, the only sign of what's happening inside. Twice a day, the Cardinals burn the ballots. Black smoke means no pope has been elected. But when white smoke pours from the chimney, the Cardinals' job is done. Now it's up to history and God to judge how they did. Ann Thompson, NBC News.
In 2013, it took 5 ballots to elect Pope Francis. In addition to giving up their phones, cardinals are banned from, as you heard, the internet, TV, radio, and newspapers. I traveled to the Vatican in 2013 to cover the papal conclave, and I spent time with Cardinal Dolan. You can watch all of our coverage on the 5+ streaming app. Watch for free on your Roku, Apple, and Fire TV devices.
That must have been something to be there.
It really was.
Wow. Well, tonight is the night the lights went out at the Gateway Arch. The National Park Service is turning the lights off for the next month as birds migrate north. The arch sits along the Mississippi Flyway, the largest migratory bird route in North America. The lights are turned off so the birds won't get confused at night and fly off course. They'll be turned back on June 1st. Twilight Thursdays return tonight to the Missouri History Museum. The first outdoor concert of the season just wrapped up about 2 hours ago. People also enjoyed local food trucks and were able to explore the museum. The concert series continues over the next 3 Thursdays.
Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell joined us now with the weather impact forecast, and we were hoping for a dry weekend, but it looks like there are still some chances of rain.
You know, there's that old saying that, if it rains on Easter, then it's going to rain the next 6 weekends. So we probably just ought to put that in the forecast and just ignore what all the weather models are saying, because they were all dry pretty much for this weekend up until starting yesterday. Then they made that shift. Now, most of us are dry this evening, or at least drying out. There are still a couple of stray showers and thunderstorms around, and there are still more waves of unsettled weather that we have to get through before this pattern's done with us. And unfortunately, that's still to our west. Speaking of to our west, it's almost dying here as it's approaching Troy, but you might in downtown Troy there get a few raindrops of what's left of that. We have the rain chances increasing for the weekend. Chilly changes too. With these showers and wet roads, adjustments to our plans this weekend. Yes, we're all going to have to make some adjustments based on this. It'll also be cooler too. We were thinking we'd be around 70 or so Saturday, maybe even in the lower 70s, pushing that back into the 60s, and probably in some cases, especially east in Illinois, only around 60 if we get there. So this is a pretty big change in the pattern, and you can see the system we've had the last couple of days with all of the bumpy weather, that's moving towards the east coast, but here comes more energy out to the west. As this is sliding in, it's going to help carve out an upper level pattern that keeps us rather gray for a good chunk of the weekend. What happens is that energy gets cut off from the main jet stream, and it gets stuck and stalled right here in the Ohio Valley right into Monday. Eventually, by Monday night into Tuesday, it should start to move out. With that being stalled off to our east, that's the wave of scattered showers and maybe some thunder we see tomorrow. But then wrapping around that upper level system, you'll have waves of showers and maybe some rumbles of thunder. That is going to take us into Saturday and Sunday. Our most favored time would be during the afternoon hours and then overnight into the early morning hours to see that rain this weekend. But it's definitely going to be a lot damper than what we were thinking. 69 degrees right now in St. Louis. Our low this morning was 64, 78 for the high. We picked up 0.18 of an inch of rain today. And yesterday, just before midnight, we ended up with another inch of rain, and that pushed us to 10.85 inches for last month. Record. wettest April ever. Tomorrow, better chances, probably mid to late morning for some of those showers. And then again, you might catch one or two during the evening. Scattered action here over the weekend. We'll fine tune the timing as we see how that upper level system evolves. It's like dropping a bowling ball somewhere, you know, when you drop it, it kind of just sits.
Yeah.
You know, it's boom, and it's just going to be that way. It just sits and gets stuck. And so, you know,
we just have to deal with it.
the sump pump will keep singing this week.
I guess so. All right, Scott, thanks.
Corey is next with sports.
The Blues and Jets engage in a war of words before Game 6. The Cardinals wrap up a soggy series in Cincy, and one local team is carrying the memory of their late head coach as they pursue a national championship. Stick around, sports is up next.
And here's a look at the program streaming in late night on 5+. You can watch for free through your Roku, Apple, Fire, and now Samsung TV.
Yesterday, the Cardinals doubled their total for road wins on the season with a doubleheader sweep of the Reds. Today, they tried to win the series before getting back to Busch for a weekend date with the Mets. The Reds did not give them a fond farewell. Matthew Liberatore has excelled as a starter this year. He gave up 2 runs on this shot to Jose Trevino today before the rain came and knocked him out of the game. The Cardinals got on the board thanks to this bloop from Nolan Arenado, a boot out in center field from Ellie De La Cruz, and some hustle from Brendan Donovan to score their only run of the game. Got pretty ugly from there, though. Reds tagged the Cardinals bullpen for 7 runs. They took the finale 9-1.
Let's make it clear. 55 got hurt from the Faxa hit. He played 6 minutes after the Shen hit.
Well, I didn't know Monty got his medical degree. I'm trying to say how our player got hurt. He's way off base.
The Blues and Jets have traded plenty of hits on the ice this series. Now the coaches are trading them off the ice. No matter how Jets forward Mark Scheifele got hurt, 2 things are true. Scheifele is not traveling to St. Louis for Game 6, and the Blues are just a loss away from their season being over. There's no doubt the Jets were the better team last night. The Blues' top 2 lines mustered just 7 shots against Winnipeg. St. Louis has proven they are best with their backs against the wall, and a must-win Game 6 is their biggest test yet.
I thought that was their best game. I thought it was our worst game. We're on to the next one. I mean, we can analyze every part of it. They were better. So we're on to the next one.
You know, it's going to be a tight series, tough series. They're a good team, and you know, a lot of back and forth with momentum swings. And so far, you know, the road team hasn't been able to get the job done, and it's our turn to get one at home now.
Elsewhere tonight in the NHL, Ottawa trying to force Craig Berube's Maple Leafs to a Game 7 in Toronto. Leafs had a 2-0 lead, but here come the Sens. Brady Tkachuk, 2-1 in the second. Then another St. Louis connection, David Perron. We're tied at 2 in the third. But with just under 6 minutes left, the Leafs respond. Max Pacioretty with the go-ahead goal as Toronto goes on to win 4-2 to win the Battle of Ontario and eliminate Ottawa. Tomorrow night, it's not just Blues and Cardinals downtown. The Battlehawks host Arlington for a Friday night game at the Dome. They'd love another performance like last week for QB Max Duggan. 70 yards rushing with 2 touchdowns and another TD pass in the air. His coach expects to see continued growth.
He's only going to get better. I mean, listen, this is a confidence business, right? Like the more snaps, the more reps, the better he's going to get. I mean, the kid, he's a competitor, and we got all the faith in the world in him. And I love that element of his legs. You know, if he's smart and diligent and doesn't like what he sees, he has that ability, and that's a problem.
Next week, the McKendree women's water polo team will play in the National Collegiate Championships for the first time ever. It's a magnificent achievement in its own right, but then there's what the Bearcats have overcome this year. McKendree lost their head coach, Colleen Lishway, back in January in a car accident, but they played on in her name and have honored her in remarkable fashion.
I think when we first found the news, it was extremely heartbreaking, obviously, but there was never a doubt in our mind that we would have to push through. We knew that we'd have to push through. We knew that Colleen would want us to push through.
The team and I know that Colleen is going to be there with us, and I think we wish she was there, in person to help us with this, because I know this is what she wanted for so many years, but we'll be bringing her with us for sure.
A very impressive group over there at
Indeed.
McKendree. I'll have that full story Sunday night on Sports Plus.
Looking forward to it. Corey, thanks.
Let's go Blues, the playoff party everyone is invited to, plus the hometown hero who will be honored during tomorrow night's game. The Blues will have a special fan in the stands tomorrow night for Game 6 against Winnipeg. St. Louis police officer Nathan Spees will be honored as the hometown hero. He was badly injured while on duty in March while trying to arrest a suspect along I-70. His right leg had to be partially amputated. Officer Spees was shot in the line of duty 3 years ago.
All fans are invited to a pregame rally tomorrow. It kicks off at 3:30 under the Union Station train shed. There will be live music, games, and appearances by Blues alumni, and of course, Louie and the Blue Crew. Fans can also register to win tickets to Game 6. The puck drops at 7 over at Enterprise. And Scott has one final check of our morning weather.
Yeah, tomorrow morning there is still a chance we'll have some scattered showers around, especially after the rush hour, but most likely they're scooting out by the time Louie gets going over there for the pregame party. Tomorrow night into Saturday, into Sunday, yeah, we still have a rain chance. Not continuous, but it's there this weekend.
And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. We're always streaming on 5+.
Be sure to start your day with Today in St. Louis at 4 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.